Good morning, everybody. If my internet dropped you, I'm sorry. It's been weird today. Probably because it's nice outside. I don't know. Really. Oh. Y'all, these glasses are starting to drive me crazy. They'll look like this. Look like this. It's not working very well. But anyways, it is Sunday. It is. Oh, some people come in. I don't know who's all coming, but thank you, Willie, for letting our ladies know that I'm live. Appreciate that. Appreciate you shouting out my channel all the time. Yeah. Anyways, hi Facebook. If there's anybody in there, thank you for coming. I can't see if you are, so I'm sorry about that. It's just how things go. Anyway, I'm babbling. I'm Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. Please don't be judging other people in the chat. Don't be rude. If you're coming in because you're drinking a drink, you will be told to leave. Just so you know, there's no bullying in this chat. This part of my channel is to help other people who suffer from alcoholism or an addiction, because I feel like there's not enough of that for everybody. So I might be wrong, but it might be right. It doesn't matter. I'm doing my service work, and that's what I'm going to be. Anyway, let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and get into the meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like I said, I'm Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for 10 years. And I always put in the description what we're reading. And today we're reading the big book. And we are in Gutter Bravado. I already read some of it today and did a lot of highlighting for me. That's what I do to remind myself of things. And it is on 501 in the 4th edition. And this is the 12 steps and 12 traditions. I don't do the traditions just simply because it's a lot of reading as it is. But I do the steps. So if you are new here, please know that you are welcome here. You do not need to say anything in the chat if you wish not to. If you do, great. Either way, this is a meeting and it's to help others not go out there and drink whatever other stuff that they have the problem with. Anyway. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Stop through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Hi, Brandy. I see you over there. One of my sponsors always comes to my meetings if she's not busy. I understand when people get busy and they can't make it. I used to not give a crap. I'd be throwing a fit by now. But so we are reading Gutter Bravado on page 501. Alone and unemployable. Oh, sorry. Hi, Ava. I see you over here in the chat with Lily. Thank you for being here. I don't want to skip anybody because I know this is a place for people to be recognized for their wanting to help others with the alcoholic problem. So I appreciate you guys that just come to support. It's awesome. It's amazing. Alone and unemployable, he was given two options by the court: get help or go to jail. And his journey toward teachability began. I was born in a major Midwestern city at the tail end of the baby boom. My parents were not well-to-do, but they were employed and pursuing the American dream in the mid-1950s. Dad was an ex-policeman who had put himself through law school and worked with banks and as a real estate broker. Mom had graduated from a well-known East Coast college, majoring in journalism, and moved west to marry my father and raise a family. Both were children of hard-working European immigrants. Growing up, my big brother and I went to church on Sundays and attended special schools. We had plenty to eat and more than just the basic necessities of life. I was a smart but mischievous kid, and at some point I decided it was easier to lie than to suffer the consequences of my pranks. Dad was big on law and order, but especially didn't like liars. We often had conflicts. Other than this, my early childhood was a relatively happy one. Eventually, my brother went off to college, and I started venturing into the world of my own. I enjoyed my friends and our many adventures. This is where my first experience with alcohol began. Sharing a few beers or a stolen bottle with friends on Friday night was my approach to maturity and adulthood. In school, I developed the reputation of never quite working up to my potential. I felt the world took things much too seriously. Where I saw myself as fun-loving and happy-go-lucky, others saw irresponsibility and insolence. A rebellious nature soon started to surface. Sorry about that. Where was I? Others. Okay, there we go. A rebellious nature soon started to surface. In the mid 60s, I had the opportunity to visit my brother who had a fellowship at a university in California. These were ready times, or heady times, and my experience there left a lasting impression on me. There was music in the air and dancing in the streets. Little wonder that after returning to the Midwest, I soon became a discipline problem. Disillusioned with what I saw as the mundane trivi- trivialities of school. Sorry, if I can't pronounce it, I'm going to skip it. I found it harder and harder to concentrate. I longed for the carefree life. Second. It's an important message. Sorry. Um, okay, it's about parks. It's about parks. Sorry about that for the delay. Okay, let's go to little wonder that after returning to the Midwest, I soon became a discipline problem. Disillusioned with what I saw as a mundane complexity of school, I found it harder and harder to concentrate. I longed for the carefree life. By the fall of 1968, after leaving three different schools, I decided I'd had enough. So I quit the books, packed my guitar, left home, and headed back to the West Coast, filled with optimism of youth and intending to make a life for myself. My tiny grub stake soon started to run out, and work was hard to find. I panhandled a little, but found I was too proud for it, or more likely, not hungry enough. I began living hand to mouth, but my survival skills were not as sharp as I thought. In warmer weather, I camped in the woods near the coastal highway. The barking of the sea lions made it hard to sleep. With winter approaching, I roamed the waterfront and the streets, sleeping in storerooms and seedy hotels, or flopping with migrant farm workers in town for their off season. What had become as an adventure was turning into a nightmare. My moments of escape from this uncomfortable reality came when I persuaded someone to share their wine or vodka. With a drink in me, my confidence returned. My direction seemed clear out, and I revealed in lofty plans and dreams for the future. Drinking to escape became as important as eating to survive. All of the gutter bravado and determination crumbled when, in the end, I ran up against the law. The authorities sent me packing back to the Midwest with nothing more than clothes on my back. Arriving home, I dazzled my friends with eager or exaggerated tales of exotic people and strange happenings. Some of them true. We went straight out drinking, and I picked up right where I left off. Always the object was to go out and get wasted. Though I sometimes had trouble holding my liquor, I was willing to try harder. I felt the key to success drinking was the same as it is in musicianship. Practice, practice, practice. After an attempt at college, I sought employment after often with a hangover. The jobs I found I considered to be menial. I did not yet know that all work is honorable. The maintenance crew and electro planting, the factory work, and the pharmaceutical industry. After emptying the trash, I started on the shelf where all of my resume, my thievery, tardiness, and abstainism, the reason for my dismissal, weren't on my resume. I was becoming generally dissatisfied, but I did not know that the problem was within me. I wanted some of the finer things in life, but upon realizing they took effort, I dismissed them as trappings of the establishment. Watching out for a bag of money by the side of the road was more my idea of planning for my future. Hello, Ash. Hello, Shannon. My bestie from my old employment. In spite of my drinking, I managed to save a little money. With my first $1,000, I bought a motorcycle. With this, I purchased a lifestyle more than a means of transportation. For years afterwards, I lived the biker lifestyle. After, at times raw and exciting, my existence revolved around building and drag racing motorcycles. Ride hard, live fast, and die young were the new rules. Weekdays I spent bar hopping the neighborhoods. Weekends would find me in the clubs downtown. As the years passed, my circle of friends grew smaller. Some died accidentally, some were killed, or some grew smaller. Some died accidentally, some were killed, some went to jail, and some just developed the good sense to get out and grow up. These were the ones I didn't understand. I sure wasn't making any new friends, so more and more I found myself a loner. In the mid 70s, was hired by the steel industry, a union job at good pay. Soon I begged to a craft job and started learning the electrical trade. The work was hot, dirty, and dangerous. Everyone worked swing shift, and at the end of my turn, I felt as if I had survived an ordeal. The first stop was a tavern on top of the hill. Many times was no second stop. Liquor was not the only recreational substance available. There, and I was no stranger to any of them. This was where I got my first bar tab. So no matter how broke I was, I could always stop in for drinks after work. While the guys around me were buying homes, raising families, and otherwise living responsibly, I was already having trouble keeping my utilities on and my car running. I saw to it that I paid my bar tab, however. My life became the pursuit of intoxication. After a few drinks, I felt more normal and in control. I changed from a furtive loner into a party animal. My jokes were funnier, the girls were prettier, I shot better pool, and the jukebox played better tunes. I could look people in the eye and mingle with the best of them. Every so often, I took work related college courses. Spending time with normal people, I began to see how wild I had become. My cherished individualism was turning into isolationism. I had a growing uneasiness that I was in a vicious circle. I had no friends, only acquaintances. This fact was underscored by the bullet holes in my car, courtesy of one acquaintance I had double crossed. My only sense of relief was in the bottle, but even that was beginning to fail me. My dreams had long since faded. My direction was unclear, my confidence lost, and the drinking would not restore them as it once had. Personal hygiene became an afterthought. There were times when I would try to live without drinking, but it was difficult, often ending at the most inappropriate times. I cleaned up for special occasions such as holidays, funerals, jobs, interviews, and court dates, only to fail in the final hour, snapping back to the bottle like a rubber band. Planned abstinence was extremely successful. The downward spiral of my life began making smaller circles. My driving record included many accidents and a ticket list that would raise a policeman's eyebrow. When I carried insurance, it was high risk. I grew sneakier and less outwardly defiant. Despite breaking laws routinely for years, I stayed out of big trouble for the most part. A few times they almost had me, but I managed to scam on technicalities, or I got yet another break. Finally, an indiscretion commitment committed years earlier came back to haunt me. I was about to have a fourth encounter with the federal judicial system. I began to feel like a clown juggling too many balls. Each ball represented a problem I was keeping up in the air. My arms were weary and I knew I couldn't keep on much longer, but I was not about to give up. My pride and ego wouldn't let me. Bosses, judges, coworkers, lawyers, car notes, bar tabs, loan sharks, utility payments, landlords, my girlfriend. people I had double crossed. I looked to all these as the source of my problems, while overlooking the most basic problem, my drinking and myself. I'd known for a long time that I desperately wanted off the merry-go-round, but I had no idea how to do it. The judge had no trouble coming up with a few ideas. However, I got house arrest with electronic monitoring and strictly supervised probation with random urinalysis for openers. 5 years in the penitentiary awaited after that. I still played the angels, angels, I don't know, until it became clear to authorities that I could not live up to the condition of my probation. It didn't matter what the consequences were. I couldn't not drink, and I gave up trying. When the court eventually called me in for my violations, they gave me two choices: get help or go to jail. After careful thought, I chose the first. Now either they were going to send me someplace or I could send myself. I chose the second, and they gave me a week to make arrangements. Procrastinating to the end, it took me three. Sorry. This is when, once again, desperate, cornered, and at my lowest, I said the only prayer I still knew: God, help me. If you get me out of this one, I'll never do it again. My life was finally out of my control. Ouch. My leg. Let's go to sleep. No longer the party animal, I was broke and my rent was overdue. I had dirty dishes piled in the sink and moldy pots on the stove. Bags of garbage and bottles were lined up by the door, and the toilet had stopped. Piles of stolen junk were sitting on the floor. I had been wearing my clothes much too long, and except for a box of macaroni and cheese or a pot pie, I was not eating. When a knock came at, I saw that blinked. Hopefully I'm good. When a knock came at the door, I would run into the bathroom and peep out the window to see who was coming to get me. Hopper, can you please stop? Hey, you're distracting me. He doesn't care. Not drinking wasn't an option, but drinking didn't help. Such was my condition as I left the house to check myself into the hospital for my day of reckoning. Outside of being very nervous, I don't remember much about admission because I was so loaded at the time. After a few hours, I began to feel safer. My apprehension slowly turned to relief. Maybe they could help me after all. I had no idea how sick I was to become. The first 5 of my 17 days in detox were hell. I could do little more than lie in bed, It had been years since I was sober that long. After a week, I felt a little better and began surveying my surroundings. I started my own counter evaluations. I found the doctors and nurses to be knowledgeable and professional, but I sensed that while they knew much about alcoholism, they had learned in the books. They had not lived it. I did not need knowledge. I needed solutions. No one but the hopeless really knew what it felt like to exist without hope. The skeptics in me came out, searching for every loophole and excuse to pick things apart and to divert attention for my condition. My initial optimism was beginning to waver. Was this all there was? However, there was one man on the staff who seemed different. He seemed very comfortable and at ease, with a bit of a knowing sparkle in his eye. This guy was clearly not as stuffy as the rest, and when he told me his story, I was surprised to find it was very similar to mine. Only his was not. Only his was no secret. He mentioned being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. However, it could it could it be that he obviously had the respect of the staff after having lived a life of crime. I hope he's not bothering you guys. How could it be that he was a lot like me, but he made it back? Here was someone who was sober, yet cool, humble, yet firm in his convictions, serious but not without a sense of humor. This was one to whom I could relate and maybe even trust. He may have saved my life just by being there, and to this day he doesn't even know it. Over the next few days, I was still not talking much, but I was listening and watching. I learned more about how Alcoholics Anonymous works and met more of its members. I found out it was not something they left at the hospital as they went home. It was a way of life. I found out it was spirituality, not religion. I saw them enjoying themselves, and they all agreed on one thing. If they wanted to change my life as they had changed theirs, I could, as long as I became willing to do what they did. I became fascinated. Here I was, the scum of the earth, yet they came to me and invited me to join them. I started to feel that if I was ever going to try something different, I'd better do it now. It might be my last chance. After all, I still had to deal with the authorities, and I had nothing to lose. By playing along, so I read their book, I started to work their steps, and with the door closed and the lights out, I asked for a little help for a higher power, as they suggested. Finally, that they highly recommended that I attend their meetings, especially the first night out. I walked out of there on a sunny afternoon. I intended to go to a meeting that night, but I also had $10 in my pocket and a reason to celebrate. I was sober for 22 days, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Soon, my old instincts began to take over. Sunny day, $10 celebration, feeling good. Before I knew it, I was walking into the back door of one of my old watering holes. The smell of alcohol hit me when I entered, and my mouth watered. I sat down at the bar. I ordered my usual ginger wash. Couldn't I make it just one day without drinking? At this last question, I realized that yes. Since I put it that way, I probably could make it just one day without drinking. Besides, I was going to a meeting that night, and who knows, they might have breathalyzers there. Hopper, you're really annoying me. He doesn't care. I probably could make it just one more, okay. Besides, I was going to a meeting that night, and who knows, they might have breathalyzers there. I put down my dollar, got off that stool, and walked back out the door. After all, I could drink tomorrow if I wanted. And that's just what I plan to do. At my first meeting that night, the people fulfilled their responsibilities. They made me welcome. I met others like me and it felt good. Maybe this thing was for real. So I went to another meeting and I got the same feeling. Then another meeting. The tomorrows came and went. And so this day I still haven't found it necessary to take another drink. That was well over 6 years ago. The meetings gave me what my sponsor likes to call one of the most important words in the big book, AA. Put a we in my life. We admit we were powerless over alcohol. I no longer had to be alone. Fellowship and activity kept me coming back long enough to work the 12 steps. The more I did, the better I felt. I started hanging out with my sponsor and some active people at the meetings. They showed me how gratitude is something that is demonstrated, not talked about. Gratitude is action. They suggested I was lucky to still have a car, even though it was a junker. Therefore, I might consider taking the less fortunate to meetings. They reminded me you can't teach anything to a know it all, so remain teachable. When old behaviors start to creep back in, they called me on it. When life just didn't feel right, they talked about developing faith and relying on my higher power. They told me lack of power was my dilemma and that there is a solution. I took to AA immediately and believed like a child that that if I leveled my pride enough to thoroughly follow their path, I'd get what they had. And it worked starting out. I just wanted to keep the authorities off my back. I never bargained for the program changing the course of my life or showing me the way to freedom and happiness. Still very impatient, I wanted the whole deal right away. That's why I related so well to the story about a wide eyed new person and an old timer. When the newcomer approached the old timer, envying his accomplishments and many years of sobriety, the old timer slapped down his hand like a gavel and said, I'll trade you even. My 30 years for your 30 days right now. He knew what the newcomer had yet to find out, that true happiness is found in the journey, not the destination. I have a fan going, it's making my arm cold. So today, I'm much more comfortable with life, as Alcoholics Anonymous has promised, and I know they are right. When they say it keeps getting better, my circumstances have steadily improved as my spiritual life grows and matters or matures. Words cannot begin to describe the feelings in my heart as I sometimes ponder how much my life has changed, how far I've come, and how much there is yet to discover. And though I'm still not sure where my journey may take me next, I know I'll owe it to the grace of God and to 3 words of the 12 steps. Continue, improve, and practice. Oh, and one more thing. They told me humility is the key. So I highlighted a bunch in this one because this one I could relate a lot with. I My glasses make me dizzy. Looking without them makes me dizzy. I'm not used to them just all the way yet. I have the bifocals in the bottom, so they make me really, really dizzy. So I marked this because I did this part of this story. I panhandled a little, but found I was too proud for it, or more likely, not hungry enough. I began living hand to mouth, but my survival skills were not as sharp as I thought. That is very true. And I've said it on other meetings here. I have panhandled my neighbors, my friends, my strangers on the street that I would walk and go be at the store to get my first drink in the morning. I've made umpteen bazillion trips down the freaking hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, just to get a beer, thinking that I was being sneaky when I really wasn't. I didn't think that they knew what I was doing. I found out that they did. Then my moments of escape from the uncomfortable reality came when I persuaded someone to share their wine or vodka. With a drink in me, my confidence returned. My direction seemed clear out or clear cut. Sorry, it's highlighted. And I revealed in lofty plans and dreams for the future. Drinking to escape became as important as eating to survive. I highlighted that one because I was trying to escape being uncomfortable around people. I wasn't a people person unless if I was drunk. Um, I also learned that I have major anxiety, I have major depression, and I'm working on those with medication and support from my doctor to keep me from doing stupid shit. But yeah, I did try to off myself. I had the thoughts. Life was hard. It was really hard. That's what I thought at that time. I was becoming generally dissatisfied, but I did not know that the problem was within me. I wanted some of the finer things in life, but upon realizing they took effort, I dismissed them as trappings of the establishment. Watching out for a bag of money by the side of the road was more my idea of planning for the future. That one is, yeah. I've never been somebody with a lot of money. I've never been somebody with everything I want. But when I had the alcohol, I was happy because I could just block that out and run away from me, run away from people, and not realizing how much these people love me and care about me when all I was doing was being selfish and not wanting to be around them. They're saying, come back. And that's something that I try to point out to everybody is you leave because you want to be into your drinking. And then you cause problems. And I did that a lot. I ran away from a lot of stuff. At times, raw and exciting, my existence revolved around building and drag racing the new rules, or motorcycles, ride hard, live fast, and die young were the new rules. Weekdays I spent bar hopping the downtown, er, bar hopping the neighborhoods. Weekends would find me in the club downtown. As the years passed, my circle of friends grew smaller. Yeah, my friends grew smaller. I didn't have any. That's what I felt. I didn't have any, and I did. And when people come back in your life, it's for a reason. You never know what the reason is. They just there they are, you know. And so you just have to like you have to make amends. And I'm still making amends with things. And I'll probably be doing that for the rest of my life. But having AA helped me to do that and build my friendships back with people and letting them know that yes, you can trust me. I'm a different person without the alcohol. With the alcohol, I just go out there. I didn't care who was around. I just go out there and talk to them. It didn't matter. As the years passed, my circle of friends grew smaller. Some died accidentally. Some were, murdered. Some went to jail, and some just developed the good sense to get out and grow up. These were the ones I didn't understand. I sure wasn't making any new friends. So more and more I found myself a loner. I felt very alone. I isolated myself a lot. I still do that. But finding the humility in life and building a new life and becoming a different person, but still being the same person, it can be confusing. But I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Life doesn't go just your way. Everything happens for a reason. There's a reason I'm doing these AA meetings. There's a reason I'm going to a meeting tomorrow. And I'm going to see my sponsor. I haven't seen her since November when I got my 10 years. And I'm going to finally go to my home group and just listen and share my part of the book when it comes to my turn. But I learned a lot from the meetings, the people, making friends, having them understand and knowing what to say when I'm struggling in a subject or a topic. And I've been thinking a lot about when I was a kid. There's things that I haven't said, even to my sponsor or anybody. So I really need to talk to her about it. This is why I say when you feel you need a meeting, you need to go to the meeting. And that's what I'm doing tomorrow is I'm going to a meeting. And this has something to do with my family, my biological family. And, and maybe I'll share this one. Anyway, next weekend's Easter. I hope everybody has a good Easter. I will not be doing AA for Easter, so you all know. I am going to read the daily reflection. Uh, go get my day's stuff done. April 13th. The false comfort of self-pity. Self-pity is one of the most unhappy and consuming defects that we know. It is a bar to all spiritual progress and can cut off all effective communication with our fellows because of its inordinate demands for attention and sympathy. It is a modern form of martyrdom which we can ill afford. As Bill sees it, page 238. Now he's eating. Crazy Dog does everything when I'm live. The false comfort of self-pity strains me from reality only momentarily, and then demands, like a drug, that I take an ever bigger dose. If I succumb to this, it could lead to a relapse into drinking. What can I do? One certain antidote is to turn my attention, however slightly at first, towards others who are generally less fortunate than I, preferably other alcoholics. In the same degree that I actively demonstrate my empathy with them, I will lessen my own exaggerated suffering. Post it to Facebook if you want to see it. Also, I have an app for the daily reflections. You get you can get your reading there, or you can get books from. I'm not sponsored by them, but you can get them through Amazon or other bookstores. Check them out at the library. Go to a local meeting. Um, Talk to a stranger. Talk to a friend. Um, I when I go see my doctor, I honestly get the Serenity Prayer when we go for doctor's appointments. And when I first met him and he said that to me, I was just like, what? So it helps when you have somebody that you know is an alcoholic. Uh, you can talk to them and they will understand. And but with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. And uh, Shannon, I hope you have a good Easter weekend. I don't know what your plans are. Maybe you could text me and let me know. But I know hopefully you're going to be able to see your boys because it is a Sunday, and that would be great. Um, Ava, I hope you and Doug and your mom have a great Easter. Uh, like I said, I won't be live for Easter. I'm going to take that day and spend it with friends and family, sitting here at home or go to the lake. I don't know. So, anyways, I love you guys. And let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and get on with the day. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there. You're welcome. Love you guys.